You probably have heard players say that match coverage is simply not worth running in Madden 24. And to be honest, I would tend to agree. Stock match coverage has its issues. However, there are so many hidden tricks to match coverage in this game where if you're willing to adjust your coverage, the match setting is going to lock down and get you guys more stops. Starting with our first one, the super press outside third. Now, the super press outside third is going to be a adjustment that you guys will call. Again, your match coverage will need to be set to on. If you guys leave this to default, this will not work. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to call any defense that is not cover 3. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to call it cover 2, and this will work against a solo receiver. So this could be a 3-by-1 formation or a 4-by-1 formation. So what we have right here in this example is gun bunch. Pretty popular. Obviously, you guys know one of the most popular plays in the game is verticals. With this play verticals, if you guys have match on, all you need to do is take your solo side receiver and put the DB over the top of him into a third. You guys can press individually on this player if you guys wish to, and kind of turn this coverage into kind of a cover 3 type rotation. Now, what's great about this is that with this particular adjustment, when you're talking about the play verticals, you're talking about the streak clearing out the sideline for the crossing route to develop underneath. But the super press occurs when you change that zone to an outside third. And when you snap this ball, he'll get a crazy press animation. And then by the time you go to throw that crossing route, the player that is pressing is in such a great position that you'll actually be able to have them react to the throw. We actually got such a great press animation that it took the streak out of the play nearly entirely. Look how Randy Moss got shoved into the sideline, absolutely bullied. Now, to a lot of players, they're gonna think, wow, this crossing route looks open, but keeping in mind that the far outside left corner is actually in a third, he's going to recover to that crossing route, and if you have a pick artist or a knockout ability, he'll be able to get an interception or bare minimum get a knockout, so this ball cannot be completed. So if you guys ever struggle with the play verticals, this is a great concept you guys can utilize. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this adjustment is that if your opponent wants to go to bunch strong is pretty popular as well. Again, with this particular meta, we oftentimes see this play known as Durham, where they'll use this setup. Again, with this particular approach, you guys can make sure that you will defend the entire sideline with a pressed outside third over the solo receiver. And then from there, it's totally up to you what you want to do with the rest. So now when they go to snap this ball, you're going to see that you get the super press on that player. And if you go to throw this crossing route, you're going to have that KO that's going to be able to break back on that. That was actually just pressure inaccurate, but you saw right there how we took out that solo receiver and there was no way at all for that route to get open underneath of that pull route. Again, you take a look here. This looks like man press. A lot of times I'll tell you when I play this game head to head, I will notice my opponents just hike chuck this. They think it's a man press animation. They see the guy get off the jam and they lob it at this point. And this actually leads to a ton of interceptions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you guys what that looks like because it is something you will actually see quite often. So now I've gone and changed my coverage again. We got this solo receiver in the streak. You see the press, lob, a lot of players go to chuck, and you're just going to get this reaction here. And I'll tell you, I've probably had 200 or 300 interceptions off of this year alone. That's not an exaggeration. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten this adjustment. Again, keep this in mind. This is only for solo receivers. If you guys have twins, it does not work. Now, if you guys are enjoying today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys hit the notification bell and drop a comment below. Let me know what you think of this video. If you guys are struggling with anything in Madden 24, let me know. This could be the topic for a future video. Now let's get into our second tip, redistribution of match coverage. So as I said at the beginning of the video, stock quarters probably not the best call in the game. It's just really not that great this year. And the reason is the box check that we have become accustomed to that defends corner routes out of bunch doesn't really work. And a lot of times when the ball is snapped, you actually notice that the safety stays on the corner route, and it just ends up being so tough for us to guard this because it doesn't do a good job of staying on that route. Now, if this match coverage worked correctly, Nnamdi would actually be the one taking the corner and letting the streak go to Derwin James. But for whatever reason, and you'll notice this a ton, they'll trip over each other. Busted coverages galore when you try to run stock quarters against streaks and corners. It's just a matter of time until it happens, so I actually don't call it at all. But there is a great way to redistribute the way that a corner route is covered. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to man up Troy Polamalu on the player that I think is running a streak. Now, traditionally, that streak is going to be matched by Nnamdi, as we saw in the last example. If we man up the streak with a slot corner, with a linebacker, with whoever, this will make that outside corner look for someone else to match. Now, the cool thing about this is that the corner route hasn't been manned up. So when we snap this ball, you see that he's going to sit on this. and you'll be able to get a reaction by either the safety or the outside quarter. Now, the outside quarter doesn't play match, he'll just drop into zone, but it's good enough to be able to guard a corner route. So this is a great way to be able to handle a player that likes to spam a lot of corner routes. Be careful though, you also saw in that example, Derwin James was basically running with the corner route. If you guys are getting lobbed down the middle, sometimes you can adjust your coverage to have a deep half over the top. That'll just kind of keep them in that seam area where you don't get just straight up blatantly lobbed over the top. This will allow you to then have a better defense that could play the corner route. You see right there, Nnamdi was able to then match it, and we're in a much better spot. So basically with this coverage combination, we redistributed the corner route to Nnamdi by manning up the streak and by taking the guy that normally would have matched the corner route and putting him into a deep half. This left one matched zone to take the only other vertical threat on that play, and he was able to match it perfectly here. And this is how you can create some pretty interesting hybrid coverages. Now, if you guys wanted to, you could also go ahead and use this trick by taking your user for whatever reason and manning up the streak as well. So in this particular defense, you'll note that I'm going to play basically match quarters, keep a safety and a half over the top, and with no real intent to actually guard the streak with my user, I'm just going to man it up to trick the game into matching appropriately. So that way, when the ball is snapped, you'll see that Nnamdi is able to take the corner out and it's now guarded perfectly. So if you guys struggle with defending corner routes, this is a great way to handle this. This trick, for what it's worth, also works against tight formations. So you guys can also use match coverage, albeit with a lot of adjustments, to actually do the job that you want it to do. This is a pretty good shell for what it's worth. And that brings me to my final tip that can help you with match coverage switches overnight, and that is getting vertical hooks to match. Now, a lot of people don't know that Cover 2 has great match rules. We have actually talked about it before here on the channel. In fact, what I'm going to show you is one of the things that I do a lot in my base defense out of the big nickel over G, which you guys can find on my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg. If you guys have not checked out Gridiron, there's no better time than now to take a look at the entire body of work that I put out over the course of the year, with 11 offensive and defensive game plans and a vault that I have updated every week all year long. You guys can go back and take a look at any timestamp throughout the year and realize how on top of the meta we were, with counters to the most effective tactics that pros are running in the MCS circuits, letting you know why those things work and again how to counter them. You guys can unlock the entire website, and that includes Discord access where we have lab sessions every single week for just $9.95. Now, here is the trick. With a cover 2 base defense, if you ever have spread formations, so 2 receivers to a side, you guys can get vertical hooks to match by just making sure that your mid-read zone is no longer on the play. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call vertical, 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 vertical. And I'm going to leave the mid-read on this play. And I want you to watch how those vertical hooks play. Notice how they just basically sit in the seams. Now, right there, fortunately for us, we were able to get a deep half to play. But sometimes you have to make adjustments. You want your halves to be thirds. That can give up one-play touchdowns. So if you guys ever want those vertical hooks to get much more active with their match rule, you're just going to blitz your user, and that is going to activate match rules on those players. So now when you have those vertical setups, you're going to notice that both those vertical hooks fly down the seam with those slot receivers. And this includes if they were to run a corner route. So take a look at this. Let's say for whatever reason, I'm fearing Randy Moss running a corner route to the short side of the field. Short side corner routes are, after all, probably the most effective zone beating concept in the game. By just blitzing my mid-read as my user, this will activate Troy Polamalu to match Randy Moss if he runs a vertical route. So now when we snap this ball, Randy goes to the corner and Troy is there and he's got a KO. We're able to cause that knockout on the sideline. And if it's a bad pass lead, that'll end up being an interception. So this is a great trick that you guys can use. And this also works against tight formations as well. Now, the key to dealing with tight formations is that you will also want to get rid of your mid-read, but you will also change your cloud flats into soft squat zones. This will activate match, so that way if all 4 guys go vertical, they will all have somebody taking the route with them. So now you see 2 streaks, 2 corners. We snap this ball. Notice how everyone gets involved. Everybody has a match. The deep halves over the top looks pretty good. The left side really lockdown. Safety in the cloud flat did a good job on the right side of the field. Presence of the running back can sometimes affect the way a vertical hook will match. So you saw right there in this example, it was pure match to the left side, a little bit wonky to the right. But this is a tried and true way of getting your vertical hooks to get more active within your defense as a match coverage. A lot of players don't even realize that cover 2 has match rules built into it. So this is 3 tips that you guys can use with the match coverage switch to improve your defense overnight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Sorry for the scratchy throat. I'm a little bit sick right now, but I hope this video reaches you well. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab in. Good luck.